Hey girls, this is today's CGI word problem for May 12th, 2020. And if you don't know what that is a picture of, that is a picture of zucchini bread. And during the summer, I grow zucchinis and I do sometimes make zucchini bread, which is very, very yummy. So today's problem has to do with Riley, who only has a certain amount of sugar. And she wants to make 2 loaves with that sugar. So how much sugar is going to be in each loaf? So follow along with me as I read. Riley has 1 3/4 cup of sugar to make zucchini bread. She wants to make 2 loaves of bread with the same amount of sugar in each loaf. How much sugar should Riley put into each loaf? All right, so I'm going to read it again. There's a lot of important information there. Riley has 1 3/4 cup of sugar to make zucchini bread. She wants to make 2 loaves of bread with the same amount of sugar in each loaf. So it has to be the same amount of sugar in each loaf. How much sugar should Riley put into each loaf of bread? So I see some important stuff here. First of all, there's only 1 3/4 cup of sugar. So think about that. If all she has is 1 3/4 cup sugar, is your answer going to be higher than 1 3/4? Well, no, it's not because she only has 1 3/4. So basically what she's doing is she's splitting that sugar for the 2 loaves of bread. This might be a little bit tricky for you today because it deals with fractions. So you might want to make a model in order to solve this one. And you're also going to have to think of equivalent fractions. So pause the video. Please solve it using plan, solve, check, and then resume the video when you are ready to check your work. Right, so let's review how to solve this problem. And like I said, this one is a little trickier because technically we haven't learned how to do the equation, how to solve the equation for this problem, but I can use my strategies of models to definitely solve it. So I've already got my plan up. I reminded myself I have 1 3/4 cups of sugar for 2 breads. So I made a tape diagram. The sugar is the total. That's what I have to use for each loaf of bread. And because they said we're using the same amount of sugar in each loaf, I put the same letter, X, and X is the sugar for each loaf. Now, the operation that I'm doing is I'm dividing. I'm dividing the sugar up. But guess what? You're probably thinking, we haven't learned how to divide fractions yet. And no, you haven't. That's a 5th grade skill. However, we have other tools we can use to get to the bottom of this answer. So X is equal to 1 3/4 divided by 2. So I'm going to use models to solve this problem. I'm going to start with the 1 whole. There's 1 whole cup of sugar. And I know I can easily split one hole right down the middle. So there's a half and there's a half. So far I have a half cup of sugar for each, excuse me, for each loaf of bread. But now I still have that 3/4. Hmm. So I still have this 3/4 that I have to use. But I have to split that 3/4 in half. Hmm. If I split each 3/4 or each fourth in half, now I have 6/8. That means that each loaf is going to use 1/2 plus another 3/8 of sugar. I'm going to add those two together, but they are not apples to apples. Have to make them apples to apples. 1/2 is equal to 4/8 plus that 3/8 equals 7/8. So it would be 7/8 cup of sugar for each loaf of bread. Well, now I'm going to check myself because I'm saying that X is equal to 7/8. So that means if I were to go back to my tape diagram, that means 7/8 here and 7/8 here, and that's supposed to equal 1 3/4. Well, let's see. 7/8 plus 7/8 equals 14/8. 14/8 is equal to 1 6/8. And look over here. We had changed that 3/4 to the 6/8. So I'm right back at 1 6/8 or 1 3/4. So I know that there's going to be 7/8 cup of sugar in each of those breads. Now, I know this was a tricky one today, girls. It was a challenge. So hopefully you were up for that challenge and you tried your best. I will see you tomorrow.